Welcome back to the Profits of IT. I'm Jim Punzenberger, your host and creator of ManageProspectingSystem.com, which provides IT services businesses with authority content, LinkedIn outreach, targeted email, and backdoor strategies into ideal prospects. Done for you. So check out ManageProspectingSystem.com. And today I'm excited to have Lewis with us. He's a 25-year veteran in the IT channel. He's got a great taste in music with a walk-up song, I Got a Feeling by Black Eyed Peas. Lewis, welcome to Profits of IT. 25 years is a long time in the industry. Tell us what you've built and how it's evolved, and a little bit about you personally.
Sure. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, it's 25 years has been a long time. My career started really when I was in the Air Force. I joined as a linguist and later became an Intel analyst, and that's when I was first exposed to computers. This was a long time ago before they became, ubiquitous everywhere. And I started playing with computers and really found that I had an affinity for them. So when my active duty commitment ended, and I then transferred to the reserves for the remaining time in my Air Force career. I got a job at a startup and just fell in love with the whole idea of computers and what they can mean, not so much because of the technology, but what they were able to let people do. And that's what I really appreciated was the fact that these were very powerful tools that could allow us as individuals, as creators, as just workers every day do more, be more efficient, create more um, good things because we now had this power. And even back in the early days of computing, those computers allowed us to do things that none of us could have ever imagined. And of course, 25 years later, that continues to be the case. And that's the one thing I always say whenever somebody asks me when I'm going to retire. I say, well, when it stops being exciting, right? And every day we discover something new, and just when you get bored and tired of the traditional IT stuff, cloud computing happens. And then when you're like, okay, well, I've done everything I can in cloud computing, then cybersecurity becomes a thing, and now it's AI. So it's never ending, and I don't expect it will ever end.
I don't expect that either. It's constantly changing. And Lewis, question for you. After 25 years in the industry, what's the biggest misconception about how this industry actually works?
I think it was something that I was subjected to or experienced early on in my career, and that was that you had to be really careful about partnerships, right? So you couldn't trust the IT guy down the street because he was going to steal your clients, or you couldn't really, reveal your secrets to your success because somebody would use those against you and take your clients away from you. And what I found throughout my history doing what I do is that partnerships are completely the opposite. They're so critical for success because we can't all be all things to all people. We really need to specialize and focus on what we're really good at. But that doesn't mean that our clients just want that. They're going to want other things that we can't provide. So you need to find partners in the industry, peers, if you will, or even people that you might even consider competitors, but that can bring something to the table that you can't. So a good example is we don't do app dev work, right? We don't develop applications. We don't
Hmm.
really deal with APIs and those sorts of things. But our clients occasionally will come to us and say, hey, I need somebody to do that kind of work. So we've found partnerships, including one, a local IT company that is really good at that. And we have a really good relationship, respect for each other. We would never try to poach clients, if you will. So developing those partnerships really is a critical um, layer of success in this industry, in my opinion.
That makes sense. So let me ask you another question, Lewis. What's a skill or instinct that's kept you relevant for 25 years when so many Others have not stayed relevant in the industry.
I like to believe that I have a very curious nature. I'm not satisfied with knowing what I know. I want to know what I don't know. And I think it was Nadella when he took over, Microsoft. He said something to the effect of, we don't want to be the know-it-all company. We want to be the, learn-it-all company. And what he was trying to convey is that at the time that he took over, Microsoft had become very complacent, right? They were the masters of their domain, and they were the IBM of our era. And so you could do no wrong by working with Microsoft. But by the same token, they weren't considered to be an innovator. They weren't considered to be an innovative company. They were thought of as, okay, they're reliable, tried and true, but don't expect anything new or exciting coming from them because Apple is doing that stuff. All these
Yes.
other companies are doing that stuff. And so when he took over, he said, we got to leave behind this know-it-all mindset, and we got to start being curious, and we got to start learning about what our clients want, what the future holds, what the potential of the future looks like, and build on that. And I think that lesson was something that a lot of people were surprised by, but look at what's happened to Microsoft since. So I think personally, being constantly curious about what the next innovation looks like, what's going on, not just in the IT space that we live in, but all around us, because technology now is everywhere in everything that we do. So a few years ago, I started going to the Consumer Electronics Show, for example, and a lot of my friends would say, "Well, that's for consumers. Why are you going to that?" And I expressed that the way that technology works today is it starts in the consumer space. And the things that consumers, end users, people that are buying retail, what they start working with, they then come to the office and say, "Hey, I want that same capability in the office." So for people that early on were, users of the Nest thermostat system, the ability to set the temperature in your home or monitor the temperature in your home with an app. They came to the office and say, "Why do we still have to touch this little machine on the wall? Why can't we do this here?" And
Right.
so that led to a lot of commercial, innovation to provide that kind of technology. And so to me, um, keeping your eyes open and seeing what's going on in the world serves me well, and I think it serves us all well.
It does. I think I would relate with that also. So, 25 years in, what's got you excited, and what do you think the audience should be excited about?
Well, I think we're entering, okay, I'm going to use the buzzword AI, but I mean it in a different way. It's hard to believe that it's been less than 4 years since OpenAI, showed us ChatGPT for the first time in public, and we all were like curiously playing with it and wondering what it could do beyond just being, a little bit better than a traditional search engine. And so it was a novelty, and it was fun to play with, and people were, getting it to do all sorts of silly things. And, we were all talking about hallucinations and how unreliable it was. But yet it's kind of like, it was like that drunk uncle at the party that made fun of and said, "Hey, let's see if we can make drunk uncle do something stupid." But now, AI has become um, embedded in so many things that we do, and that will continue to be the case. And we're entering a new phase of AI adoption where we've gone from being curious about a novelty or, at the edge of the AI ecosystem saying, early adopters, what can we do? So now it's become commonplace and people use it all the time for all sorts of things. And I think it's going to release a lot of creativity and capability if it's used correctly and if it's implemented in a way that's, safe and secure, as we like to say. But I'm very excited about what kind of innovations across all industries AI is going to bring, and I want to be at the forefront of that as much as possible.
So, Lewis, how would somebody, what would be a good way for the audience to connect with you if they're interested in getting in touch with you or learning more?
Yeah, I'd love to have people reach out if I'm available on LinkedIn. Not hard to find. Luis Alvarez there, and all my contact info is there. But feel free to reach out and ask me questions or interact. I'm happy to answer anything and provide any sort of information that I can. I'm also at a lot of trade shows. I'll be out at the soon at the Pro or Conrad and at the Exchange show. And you'll see me, by the way, at the Exchange conferences because I'm a member of their advisory council and I try to go to as many of those as possible. So if you see me out there, feel free to stop me and let's chat or have a cup of coffee.
Great. And check the show notes for a link to Lewis's LinkedIn profile. We'll include it in the show notes. Any final thoughts before we wrap up here?
No, thank you so much for having me as a guest. This was a lot of fun. I love talking about what we do and sharing. So this was another opportunity for that.
And thank you for being so kind and gracious to share your knowledge also. And
My pleasure.
well, as Lewis built his business by meeting clients where they're going, not where they are, ManageProspectingSystem.com does the same. We put you in front of your ideal clients and prospects who need you next, not the ones who already know your name. It's done for you, and now would be a great time to check it out. ManageProspectingSystem.com. Until next time, keep building. I'm Jim Punzenberger. Stay hydrated and caffeinated. Bye for now.